Number 78. Inquiries of a Young Boy.
On a clear spring day, when Sote-san was 7 years old, he went up to Ongnia Peak to look at the sky.
Such a clear blue sky. I wonder how far and high it is. How is it so clear? I wonder how far it goes. Who lives at the end of the world?
When he was 9 years old, he began to ask questions about life.
What do people live for? Where do they go when they die? How was I born into this world? Why are there rich, poor, noble, lowly, handsome, ugly, good, and bad people, even when they are all human beings? What am I?
As he began to question these things, his inquiry into the truth was deepened.
Number 79. What is a noble person?
This story took place after the death of Sote-san's father, Pak Song-sam. During his life, Pak Song-sam was indebted to a few people, so Sote-san ran a business to earn money. After 3 months, he went into town to visit a rich man to pay the debt. When Sote-san walked in, the rich man was wearing a traditional hat and was speaking to a guest. Spotting Sote-san, he said, "You must be Song-sam's son. Are you here to pay your father's debt?" Sote-san, who was 21 at the time, paid his respects and sat down. In a stern tone, he said,
Seeing as you are rich and have many responsibilities in the government, I thought you would be a nobleman. But now I see that you are no different than a commoner. Our households had a friendly, trusting relationship, which is why you lent us money. However, after my father's passing, you never even stopped by. Instead, you talk about money the first chance you get.
Sote-san threw the bag of coins he had strapped to his waist in front of the rich man, and it landed with a loud thud.
I have paid my debt,
said Sote-san as he stood up to leave. The rich man felt ashamed and could not lift his head. All his servants who had gathered around to see what the commotion was about were also left speechless. Sote-san marched out the front door without another word.
Number 80. Standing still.
Before Sote-san attained great enlightenment, he was working as a seller at the market. On a hot summer day on his way to the market, he stopped under a zelkova tree to cool off, eventually going straight into a state of deep meditation. The men who were supposed to meet with Sote-san went to the market on their own after he failed to appear. When they were returning after the day's work, they found Sote-san still standing like a statue under the tree. "What are you doing here?" asked one of the men. Sote-san did not reply. He was so still that they could not tell if he was alive or dead. The men started to shake him. "Wake up! What are you doing?" After a few shakes, Sote-san opened his eyes and looked around.
Where is this place? What time is it?
"It's Sun Jin-po, and the sun has almost set."
Really? What am I doing here?
"That is exactly what we want to ask you. Why are you asking us?"
I do not know. Why am I here?
"Think hard, my friend." Sote-san stared at the men for a while, and then finally said,
I remember now. I was on my way to the market and stood under this tree to cool off. I was watching the clouds go by. I must have been standing here all day. Number 81, non-distraction.
One day, before Sote-san had attained enlightenment, he was meditating on a rock near a small house when a young woman approached him with a basket of herbs at her waist. She would not leave even after the sun began to set. Seeing her reluctance to leave, Sote-san asked,
Where did you come from? Why will you not go home?
She replied in an embarrassed yet earnest tone that she had seen him before and could not help but fall in love. She begged him not to leave her. Sote-san said,
There are strict rules between a man and a woman. I am studying, and it would be a distraction.
The woman did not listen to his stern words. Finally, Sote-san told her,
Perhaps there are other people around this area. I will go check and come back.
He went to another nearby mountain, sat on a rock, and went into a deep meditation. The woman waited for him, but eventually she grew tired and returned home. Sote-san returned to the original place and retrieved some water from a nearby spring. He cleaned the place where she had been sitting and continued to meditate.
Number 82, the prayer.
Yi Wanhua helped Sote-san when he was practicing attaining great enlightenment. One day, Sote-san became ill, but still continued to meditate facing a wall. Yi Wanhua became concerned and said, What are you doing? Are you trying to become a governor? Sote-san said to Yi Wanhua,
A governor is not very important. I want to be a great teacher, like Che Gal Young. Wash yourself in cold water in the morning and at night. Concentrate with your mind and pray for me.
So Yi Wanhua washed herself twice a day, regardless of the weather. She put a bowl of clear water on a rock, bowed in 8 directions, and prayed. Divine spirits of heaven and earth, please make this man a local governor. Sote-san saw this and asked,
I am very thankful that you are praying for me, but why do you pray that I should be a governor?
She responded, He is the most powerful man I know. Sote-san said,
It is a very high position. But if you are going to pray for me, pray that I will be the man to deliver all the people in the world.
From that point on, Yi Wanhua prayed for him to be the savior of the world.
Number 83, the teacher and the founding master.
In Yongkwang, the birthplace of Sote-san, there was a teacher named Kim Hua-chun who was 8 years his senior and was known for his literary skills. Sote-san had visited Kim Hua-chun to learn the Chinese characters. After Sote-san attained great enlightenment, he wished to have students of his own. So, with Buddhist scripture in hand, he revisited his old teacher. The whole town was already aware of Sote-san's enlightenment. However, Kim Hua-chun still thought Sote-san to be ignorant due to his illiteracy. The young Sote-san approached Kim Hua-chun and asked,
Teacher, could you read and interpret this book that I have brought you?
Kim Hua-chun was slightly startled by the Buddhist scripture. After sifting through a few pages, he became alert and attentive. He said, I have seen Confucian books, but I am unfamiliar with Buddhism.
Then read the letters to me, and I will translate.
Kim Hua-chun agreed and started reading. He came upon a word written in Hindi that he was not familiar with. I have no idea what this word is. The once illiterate Sote-san, who always took off to the mountains instead of studying, started reading the rest of the text without effort, interpreting the book with utmost ease. The teacher was frozen in shock.
Number 84. The man who carried Sote-san on his back.
On a warm summer day, after Sote-san attained great enlightenment, he was walking with Yi Sun-sun when they came upon an old man. The old man saw Sote-san and stared at him in awe. Then he asked, "Young man, where are you from?" After Sote-san replied, the old man offered to carry him on his back. He explained, "I have met many people over several decades and have seen their fortune through their faces. However, I have never seen a person of your stature, build, and demeanor. I would like to get to know you, which is why I am offering to carry you on my back." That day, the old man led Sote-san to a nearby hut, treated him well, and praised him endlessly.
Number 85. The strong man who was scolded.
When Sote-san and his 9 disciples started the reclamation work, they would offer townspeople construction work and pay them a fee in return. However, many would sneer and laugh. "You can't trust Sote-san and his students. They're too poor." Recently, their so-called leader could not even maintain his own household, and none of his students are exceptional. Right now, they're carrying out the reclamation project. Pretty soon they will realize their efforts will come to naught, and they will begin fighting among themselves. In the end, they will all split off in different directions. At this time, in a nearby town, there was a man who was known to be very strong. One day, this man became drunk and told everyone, "My friends, I will go to their construction site tomorrow and make fools out of them all." The next day, this man brought a few friends to the construction site and told Sote-san, "We came to work. I am several times stronger than most men." Sote-san said,
Work hard, and I will pay you plenty of money.
The man was stronger than 3 men put together, and, just as he had bragged earlier, he began to taunt Sote-san. Instead of listening to Sote-san, he would pour dirt in the wrong place. He planned to pick a fight with Sote-san when he was being scolded. However, Sote-san knew this man's plan and would only watch. Then, suddenly, he struck the strong man's backpack with a stick and shouted,
You imbecile! You rely on your meager strength. Who are you trying to fool?
The man was shocked. The blood drained from his face and his limbs became stiff. As he stood like a statue, Sote-san said,
Take this man over there and let him rest.
After a long time, the man recovered as if he had come out of a coma. "Am I dead or alive? Where am I?" His friends, who had come to work along with him, said, "How could a strong man like him lose his mind from just a scolding?" After this incident, the man redeemed himself by working several times harder than all the rest. No one came to the construction site to make fun of the project anymore.
Number 86. What we should do.
After Sote-san attained great enlightenment, he was working on a reclamation project with his students. At that time, the political independence movement of March 1st ignited all over the country, and his students asked him, "Master, everyone is fighting for independence right now, As people who have lost our country to Japan, what should we do at this point? Sote-san replied,
This independence movement is more than a fight against Japan's oppression. It is the call for our nation's enlightenment. It is a bell urgently calling for the dawn to come. Right now, we are very busy and our time is limited. Everyone in the world has a calling in this lifetime that requires adequate timing. During a turbulent time such as this, we must think about that calling. Right now, we must hurry to finish this project and start praying to the divine spirits. Number 87, Our Buddhas.
when Sote-san resided in the One Buddhism headquarters, some people came to say hello and asked him, "Where have you enshrined your Buddha?" Sote-san replied,
Our Buddha is outside right now. Wait a while if you wish to see him.
The group did not understand this and considered it quite odd. A while later, at lunchtime, the workers came in from the fields with farming tools on their backs. Sote-san pointed to them and said,
These are the Buddhas of our community.
The people became even more confused.
Number 88, The Old Woman Who Went Back Home.
An old, wealthy woman with many children came to the One Buddhism headquarters to meditate. After a week, she paid a visit to Sote-san before leaving for home. If I leave my house, none of my sons or daughters-in-law will even notice if the spices or firewood is stolen from my storeroom. I cannot free my mind and concentrate on my meditation any longer. I must go back home. After she left, Sote-san told his students,
A person's obsession is so terrifying. She has tied her mind with an invisible string, and it is dragging her to her own prison. A physical prison in this world is breakable, but one can never escape the prison of your own mind, not even in the next life. If you are so obsessed with your wealth and household, once reincarnated, you will always be born near your old house. If you had good human affinities in your previous life, perhaps you will be reborn as a person. Otherwise, you may be born as an animal or an insect. It is a terrible, fearsome thing. A person should let go of their attachments and obsessions before leaving this world. This is the most crucial thing. Number 89, The Reason Why He Did Not Cure Her.
one day, a female One Buddhist member in her 50s came to greet Sote-san. She looked hesitant, as if she had something troubling her. And finally she said, "Master, I have been suffering with heartburn for years. Please tell me the remedy." Sote-san told her that she had come to the wrong place.
That is an illness of the physical body. Go see a doctor or a pharmacist. I cannot do anything for you.
But the woman kept asking him for the remedy. Sote-san continued to refuse her. After she left, Huang Yi-chan said to him, "You are a very stubborn man." Sote-san smiled.
Do you think so?
Huang Yi-chan replied, "I will tell you a trick for next time. Take dried pumpkin leaves and hand them to the next member who asks you for medicine. They will believe the pumpkin leaves will actually work and get better. Even if they don't, the leaves are harmless. If you charge a small amount for each bag of the leaves, it will cure their illnesses and you can make a little money on the side."
You have a point. If I give them medicine that cures their illness, they will look up to me even more. However, when this happens, I will no longer be a teacher of spiritual practice, but a simple drug peddler. Number 90, the prayer on the train.
Kim Yong-shin was escorting Sotaesan by train from Seoul to One Buddhism headquarters in Iksan. When Sotaesan stepped in, everyone in the train stood up for him. No matter where he went, people would step aside to make way for Sotaesan. Whenever he got on a train, he would take a seat and close his eyes for a silent prayer. Kim Yong-shin was curious and asked, "Master, why don't you talk with the people next to you?"
I am praying that this train gets to its destination safely.
Kim Yong-shin kept this in mind, and from then on, whenever she rode a train, she always prayed.
Number 91, cleaning the train bathroom.
Sotaesan boarded a train for Seoul with a student. As the train passed Taechan, Sotaesan stood up to go to the bathroom. When he did not return after a long time, the student was worried, so he went to the bathroom. Just then, Sotaesan stepped out. "Master, what took you so long?"
I was cleaning the bathroom.
"You were cleaning the bathroom?"
I walked in and it was dirty. I feel that during the Japanese occupation, the Japanese would say that Koreans are so inferior and ignorant that we don't even know how to use the bathroom. And that is why we lost our sovereignty to them. During a difficult time like this, we must be even stronger and even more able to defend our nation's pride and honor. Number 92, failing the Buddha test.
When Sotaesan was visiting Seoul, all the residents heard that the living Buddha was coming, and so they gathered to see him. They became disappointed and left after seeing Sotaesan's unexpected human-like aspects. At lunchtime, lettuce and other food was served. Sotaesan quite enjoyed it. When the people saw him, they thought, "What Buddha enjoys food so much?" Sotaesan visited the bathroom after his meal. The remaining people thought, "We have been fooled," and ran away. When Sotaesan returned to the One Buddhism headquarters in Iksan, he told Hwang Ichon,
Ichon, I went to Seoul and failed the Buddha test. Even a person better than I would have failed. Everyone ran away from me. Number 93, the Japanese surveillance and difficulties for One Buddhism.
when One Buddhism was introduced to the world and the order became increasingly organized, the Japanese surveillance became stronger. Whenever Sotaesan moved locations, there were undercover policemen following him. Kim Yong-shin described that time in this way. Whenever Sotaesan came to Seoul, we led him to a house in Kaedong. Upon his arrival, all the members in Seoul would gather there. Yi Tong Jinhwa would wear a pretty blue skirt and bow gracefully. Kim Sam-nehwa would also bow sincerely to Sotaesan. Aunt Yi Kong-chu would wear a fashionable head covering as well as Western clothes. I would always stand behind Sotaesan to fan him. While all these ladies entered the building to listen to Sotaesan, we never knew that there were Japanese policemen spying from a small hill behind the house. Then, one morning, we discovered that Sotaesan had disappeared. He left to go to Iksan without telling anyone. I thought about how strange this was as I was packing my book bag to go to school. Then, a Japanese detective came in to search the house. "Who was that man yesterday?" "Him? He is my uncle," I answered in fluent Japanese. Whenever someone asked this question, I always said he was my uncle. My mother and aunt would say he was their brother, and my grandmother would say he was her nephew.
Number 94. To clean is to study.
One day, Sate-san happened to pass by and asked one of the girls,
Your parents are paying for you to study here at the One Buddhism headquarters. Why are you working instead of studying at a desk? Is that not going against their will for your education?
One of the girls answered, "I am studying right now." Sate-san asked,
How can you study while you are working?
One girl replied, "To sit down and study, like you say, is to study the ethical philosophy. However, working is to use that knowledge in real life." Sote-san responded,
You are right. In the past, practitioners of the way would often waste their time memorizing scriptures, but would not carry out that knowledge. Scriptures are like signposts. True practitioners of the way do not stare at the signpost. They actually follow the sign and go on their way along the path. You have chosen the correct way in your studies. Number 95. Have you become a Buddha?
Kim Kwan-jung would visit the one Buddhist temple and meditate often. If he had questions, he would ask great Buddhist masters. One day, he asked Sote-san, "Does an enlightened person exist, even in a chaotic world like this?" Sote-san replied,
In a world like this, do we not need many enlightened persons?
Kim Kwan-jung asked again, "Then, Master, have you become a true Buddha?" Sote-san smiled and replied,
I realize the karmic principle of cause and effect. The biggest sin in this world is to pretend to be enlightened when you are not, and thereby to interfere with many people's futures with this lie. I could establish this religion because I know this principle. Becoming a Buddha cannot be achieved through talking or listening. You need to reach a certain level of awakening to clearly recognize a practitioner's degree of awaking. The value of true Dharma will be proven by future generations. Number 96. Even Buddha cries because he is human.
One of Sote-san's first 9 disciples was Kim Ki-chon. He was the first disciple in One Buddhism whose awakening was acknowledged by Sote-san. When Kim Ki-chon was working as a minister at the Pusan One Buddhist temple, he became very ill and passed away. The news of his passing reached the One Buddhism headquarters at Iksan, causing everyone living at the headquarters to rush to the Great Enlightenment Hall at 5 a.m. Sote-san was also there. Everyone was sitting quietly in the completely dark hall when Sote-san started to weep. At that moment, everyone else started to cry loudly. This was not the only instance where Sote-san showed tears. When Kim Kwang-son, his uncle and student, passed away, and when Yi Tong-an, founder of Po Wa Tang, a herbal medicine shop, passed away, Sote-san also cried. He always shared his grief with the public. However, his sadness never lingered, and he moved on with his tasks. Sote-san's son passed away at the age of 19. He could not bear to be with his son during his last moments, and he left the room. That afternoon at 2 p.m., he gathered his students and gave a lesson about life and death. He was a Buddha who could give a Dharma lecture just 3 hours after his son's death. He did not let the pain or sadness drag him down because he knew how to control his mind.
Number 97. After a plane ride.
Sote-san said,
One time, Changi convinced me to travel by airplane, so I got on an airplane for the first time. When I entered the plane, they had us put cotton balls in our ears and gave us a pen and paper with which to communicate. I was sitting across from Changi, and there were 3 Japanese soldiers sitting next to me. When the plane began to take off, the propeller was spinning very loudly. I looked down and felt like I was in a flimsy bamboo basket and became very nervous. I told Changi to be at ease, and I myself closed my eyes and went into meditation. I was determined not to have my faith or meditation shaken, even if the plane broke down and I fell with it to my death. Once I had this thought, I became peaceful. After a while, Changi shook me and showed me a piece of paper telling me that we had almost arrived. His face was very pale. A short while later, we landed safely at Mokchunpo Airport and finally arrived at Po Wa Tang. Whenever we do something for the first time, we are filled with confusion and worry. However, with strong faith and determination to achieve something greater, there is no need to have fear or worry. No matter what tragedy strikes, a person with such a mind cannot be shaken. So whenever you are confronted with distractions or disturbances, do not be perturbed. Instead, always keep your faith and remember how to calm your mind. Not only will your fears and pains subside, you will even be able to remain calm in the face of death. Faith is truly a great thing. Number 98. You should not waste dirt.
Kim Pong-shik was cleaning the yard and had gathered some dirt and dust with his broom. He put the dirt and dust in a sack and was on his way to the dumping ground when Sote-san called from his room.
Who is there? What are you carrying?
Sote-san walked out of his room and said,
Pour it on the ground. Don't you see that you have gathered all this dirt and not just the dust? This dirt was paid for. You cannot be wasteful with this.
He sorted the dirt out by hand and poured it into a hole where the rain had washed the dirt away. He hardened the soil with his feet by patting it and stepping on it.
Number 99. The police station.
Sote-san told police officer Huang Yi-chun,
I have been to the Kimche police station, and they just had me sit down. Honestly, I had done nothing wrong. It is not a crime to help people. Ichan, the police station, is a very nice place.
Yi-chun asked, What made you think it was so nice?
Think about it. When I stayed there, even though there was very little food, I was still fed 3 times a day. They gave me water when I was thirsty. They let me sleep at night and woke me up in the morning. Paradise was not far away. I do not understand why people are so afraid of that place.
Ichan said, Master, that is not a good thing. Sote-san said,
If you are guilty, you will become afraid of your own bedroom, let alone a police station.